Hey friends, you are watching The Grace Space, and today I am joined by one of my dearest friends / ordained minister / soon-to-be lawyer / personal counselor, Constance Perry.
Yay! Both of us are so happy to be
here.
Yes. I'm so happy to be here.
And I'm so happy to have you here. I'm very excited. Connie is just full of wisdom, and she always just drops some gems on my life, so I know she's going to bless you today as well. So today we're going to be talking about how to trust God in the process. And I feel like a lot of times we hear the discussion about purpose, we hear this discussion about promise, and when God has a call for your life and all of these things, but a lot of people don't talk about the process that goes with that, because as soon as God gives you a purpose, a promise that you discover, he also takes you through a process of refining you and all of that. And I specifically wanted to have my friend Connie here to talk to me about this subject, because I feel like we are both kind of aligned in this subject. We both have big calls on our life that we feel like God has given us, and it's been a process.
I think the hardest part about the process is no one warns you that there's
that's what I'm saying. Why does nobody talk about this? And you feel like you're tripping because it's like, hold on, you told me something completely opposite of what I'm experiencing right now. And so, yeah.
I think it's almost like that's the indicator that you're on the right track.
Yeah, everything's going completely wrong.
The floor has just fallen out from underneath you. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, you're in the right place. So, Connie, I want you to share your story. Just kind of how you ended up in the position that you are right now, when God called you, and how he kind of like tricked you a little bit and to get you where you needed to be. And so just tell us how everything unfolded.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna start with working backwards, and I guess it's at the promise is the end result. So I recently obtained a promise. I saw a promise through. When I graduated from law school, that was a promise fulfilled. It had been years in the making. I think even as a child, I knew that God was speaking to me. I'd go to law school because I always wanted to be a judge, and so I knew that I had to go to law school to make that happen. It wasn't linear at all. It wasn't. I got the idea, and then it happened. A lot of years, a lot of hiccups, some serious things I don't want to go into, but ultimately, I end up seeing this promise through. And so now it's like, now we're after the promise, and while it has been fulfilled, I'm not going in the direction that I thought I was supposed to go. I thought, I graduated from law school, yay, promise. Now we get to go. Now I get to be a lawyer, and so now I find myself in this, what are you doing, God? And I feel like you didn't tell me the whole plan when we got started.
Yeah, just imagine if he did, though. Like, if God showed us the whole plan that he had, I feel like I'd be running in the other direction, like, get me out. I don't want all that. But it's good. The plan is good. It's just, it seems big, and it seems like,
yeah. I think if I would have known I would be here, right now I'm in a good space, so I would have said yes. But there are certain parts of the journey where I'm like, nah, it's not worth it. Definitely not worth it.
Yeah. So, okay, so you started with the promise. Take us back to
when you
heard that promise from God.
Do we want to cry? Do I want to be this vulnerable?
Okay, you can be vulnerable. This is the grace space. We have grace for you.
It's like we're supposed grace made, huh? No, I mean, there's certain things in the promise you want to keep hidden and act like it's been perfect the whole time once you're on the other end.
It hasn't. And people need to know that, because
it's supposed to look pretty. Okay.
It's kind of messy.
It's very messy. So, well, I mean, if we're talking the very first time I heard the promise when I was like in elementary school that I'd go to law school.
So you knew from like a young age that you wanted to be a lawyer, ultimately a judge.
Yeah, I would read social studies. Remember social studies? Before we started calling it history.
I hated those classes.
I loved it.
See?
I loved reading the history books and learning about the history, and I actually saw myself, I was like, I want to be in this book one day. I want to be one of these stories that we're learning.
So let me ask you, sorry to interrupt you, but let me ask you a quick question. For those people who are like, I'm not sure what God's calling me to do or what I was created to do,
That's my favorite thing
who
to
don't
talk about.
always have like this revelation when they're young. Because I feel like from a young age, I knew I was really creative, and I wanted to get into, I don't know, business and creativity in some sense. But there's some people who never could identify what that was. So what would you say to those people?
This is like my favorite topic in the world. Like if I had one job, I would love to just sit and help people discover their purpose. I'm always reading on it. I'm always doing more research. But one thing I read recently, and I wish I could give credit to where I read it from, but I don't remember. I read that purpose is at the intersection of abilities, experience, opportunity, and talent.
I need to write this down.
Yeah. Ability, experience,
opportunity, and talent.
No, it can't be talent. There's something else.
Is that wrong?
Yeah, because ability.
JK, erase talent.
And it's another word that's really good.
Oh my gosh. We're gonna have to come back to this because I need you to remember.
Yeah.
But even that is good too, because it God created us all with different skills and talents for us to use for His glory. And I feel like, just listen to what your friends say about you, your parents say, oh, you do a really good job at that. And I feel like that's a good way to identify your ability.
Yeah. You know what? It's so funny. I put a lot of pressure on my mom. I called her the other day. I'm like, Mom, tell me what I was good at as a child so I can find my purpose and know what I'm supposed to be doing here on this earth. And she's really good at telling me all the things I'm not good at. And not in a bad way. She's the best person in the world. Because we were trying to work backwards. She goes, well, I think you're always really good at running your mouth is what she said. And that's not exactly a compliment.
Okay, but lawyers run their mouth. Yeah.
But she was like, but your interpersonal skills, you're really good with people.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah, and so you can sort of
but then you're also an ordained minister right now. So you have to deal with people a lot.
I do.
So those all kind of intertwine, right? Okay, so we're going to go backtrack again. So in elementary school, you knew.
Oh, yes, that's right. In
But
elementary school. Yeah.
What happened in adulthood that made you take that leap to actually go and pursue it? Because you weren't...
No, yeah,
You didn't go to law school originally.
No, I didn't. I was in school. Law school was a distant dream by the time I was in college. I was studying broadcast journalism.
Oh.
Yeah, I wanted to
Still talking.
I wanted to be Oprah.
No, you are.
I wanted to. Now I am. It's happening. I wanted to be Oprah, so I went into journalism. And while I was there, I was about to graduate.
Yeah.
And I just felt unfulfilled. It's like the best way I could put it. And it was one of those spaces in life where everything was going right.
The degree.
I had the degree.
You had the boyfriend.
I had the boyfriend.
You had the perfect life.
And that's right. That's all we're hoping for in the world.
Boyfriend and a degree.
The boyfriend and a degree.
Good.
That's it. I'm about to get married. No. So at that point where I thought I was supposed to be extremely happy, and I just was unfulfilled, and I was like, what is this? And that was a time when God came back and like he re-spoke that dream into me, and then once I started to chase that, I felt that fulfillment again, and so that's sort of the indicator that let me know I was on the right track. And I think that's what you experience when you're living out purpose. There's no sense of emptiness, but you're like sort of fulfilled in the chasing of it, even if you're not seeing the fruition.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a little bit of some backstory to me. So I knew I wanted to do something creative and something that had to do with business as well. And it wasn't until high school where I knew, like, okay, I'm going to go to fashion, to pursue fashion. I went to FIDM in Los Angeles and started, yes. Shout out to FIDM. Hey, guys. And so, yeah, I went to school there, studied apparel manufacturing management, which kind of married the business side with the creative side. And immediately, I think before I graduated, I landed this really awesome job.
You're such a boss.
I am. Thanks to Jesus. Just kidding.
Hair flip.
All humility here. And so, yeah, I got this awesome job. I was able to travel the world, go to Paris Fashion Week, all these awesome opportunities that I could never dream up for myself. But I wasn't in Christ then. So I wasn't really I wouldn't say I was a Christian then. I believed in God, but I didn't know God, if that makes any sense. And so, but his favor was still in my life, because he still took me in that place, in that space. And I think in my 5th year of working there, I became a Christian, and God started to change me. And I always had the dream of like starting my own business. And so I knew I would do Grace Made eventually, but it's almost like he was like, now, you know? And so, and it was aligned with my testimony, because that's when, you know, he kind of ministered to me about and convicted me about the clothes that I was wearing. And I'm like, oh, you know, now I don't even want to do what kind of brand I wanted to do before. And now I want to
wear before.
It was totally like more of a edgy look, and not what I'm doing at all right now.
I know.
But it's funny, because as God started to change my character, then the idea of what I wanted to do for my business also changed.
That's good.
And so it was kind of paralleling, and the whole journey has really paralleled with what God's doing inside of me, right? And so that happened, and so things became really uncomfortable at my job, where I felt like that unfulfillment, where you're not where you're supposed to be. And I felt like God was telling me to take the leap to start this business and, you know, leave that job and move forward and all of that kind of stuff. So I left the job, and there was so much grace for it. There was so much peace for it. You would think like, oh, you're traveling all over the world. You have this great job, you know, you're living in this great place. You probably want to stay there. But no, I was like ready to go. Like there was so much grace for me leaving and to starting this new journey.
I call it the green lights. The green lights.
Ooh, that's
that you
good.
get. Yeah, that's when I was begin to describe what I was going through when I made the choice to go to law school.
Yeah.
It's like the doors were just opening.
Yeah.
It's like it was such a smooth process. Like,
and that's also like confirmation.
Yeah.
Like when the doors are opening and there's grace for you to get through, it's like
you can't.
You're in the right space, right? Yeah. But then
that's the trick.
Then the process.
All the doors flying open, and then bam.
And you're just sliding on through, right? But then the process happens, and what the process, the process looks like is, some people will call it a wilderness season. Some people will call it a lot of different things. But what the process looks like is, when things feel a little hard, when things start feeling like they don't match up to what God showed you, when things, give me some help on that. What did your process look like?
You know, the best way that I'm seeing it now is when I think of the process that it takes to make a diamond or refine gold, or to take grapes to wine, or olives to olive oil, like
to smashing
or crushing. That is the process. That's what it feels like. And it's in those moments, it hurts. It's painful.
Oh, yeah.
You're kind of like confused, because it's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But to understand that all of those processes, though they're very painful, that the end result is something very valuable. It's something that we all want.
Which is why he takes us through it, right? Because he wants to get us to that end goal. But it wasn't fun. So for example, I'm going to make this practical and be very transparent. So like the first whole year of starting my business, after the fun part and
doors open,
woos you with all the doors open, I feel like I almost cried every day, maybe. I cried a lot.
I don't want to talk about what I did.
It was very difficult. And let me give you an example of what that looks like. So for example, I had found this production manager to start producing the clothes for Grace Made and all of that. And he was just mean. He was mean. And if you ever are in the fashion industry and you're a new startup company, a lot of production places, a lot of factories don't really want to work with you because you're not producing that many quantities. And they want, the money's in the numbers. So it's very difficult to find someone that will work with you. And he agreed to work with me, but he was just so mean.
What do you think, so when we talk about this process being a refining, what do you think God did, or what was he trying to create or get out of you using that man?
So I feel like, honestly, he strengthened me so much, right? Because I was so frail. I would like I said, I would cry. I was sad. I didn't want to act like I didn't know what I was doing either. So I wouldn't be vulnerable and be like, can you help me? Can you explain this to me? I just wanted to act like I had everything together and figured out, which created so much anxiety in me.
Oh my goodness.
And
we're the same person.
That's why we're friends.
You sound just like me.
So it created so much anxiety in me, and it was just
Yeah.
like not a comfortable season, but I think God was showing me like, one, to be okay with not knowing everything. And I feel like I would have saved myself so much hardship if I was just like, hey, like, I don't get this. I don't get what you're telling me. Because me trying to act like I knew everything made things worse. Like, you're messing everything up because you think you know everything and you're doing it wrong. And then also just to strengthen my character. Because I feel like when you have a big call in your life, you know, as the business grows, he's going to take me into even worse situations with dealing with people, and I have to be strong enough to handle different personalities. And so I had to really get strengthened and not want to come home and like lay in bed and cry like, Jesus, why are you doing this to me? You told me to start this clothing line and it's so hard, you know? And so he definitely strengthened my character through all of that. So that's just one of the examples. Give me an example of like how during your process of like, you know, law school, of all of that, of moving to San Diego, like, give me a practical example, and our viewers a practical example of what that process looked like for you.
One of the instantly I went in, and there's the insecurity of, I'm not smart enough for this. You know, comparing yourself to other people who's getting it faster. And law school, it is built for a competition. Everybody's like, there's a spot for you. You number 1, 2, 3, all the way down to the last number. And so you find your place in there. That's the way that they grade us. That's the way that they treat us. You know who's number 1 in the class. You know who's number 2. You don't know who's last, thank God. I think I was probably fighting for one of those bottom positions for sure. Top, bottom, last, very bottom.
Through.
So I think in that, and also there's, in that first year of law school, there is the do or die. There's that 20% of you won't make it. It's not even like an option. Like 20%, whether you want to or not, you're going to be cut. And so I think I had that fear all along, like hearing, you're not going to make it, you're not going to make it, you're not going to make it. And so in that space, I had to learn. I think God was trying to teach me a lot of things, but some of the things that I definitely know is, give me your dream back, you know? Like, here, I gave you this promise. Will you give it back to me? And
what does that mean?
It's kind of like, for me, it reminds me of the story of Abraham and Isaac.
Oh, where he had to sacrifice
Isaac, So,
for the people who don't know, like, I'm not assuming that all of you guys are Christians. So explain, like,
that is, okay.
Wow, what that would look like.
For me, for what that looked like for me, and it was very difficult. When I understood that I was putting basically this promise that God had promised me even above my relationship with God. Like, I wanted it more than I wanted God. I was like, Lord,
whoa, that's good.
I wanted to graduate law school more than I wanted to be a follower of Christ. And I don't know if that's necessarily it. I think it was just more important to me.
Why do you think we're like always striving for achievement?
I think it's a personality trait. Do you know your Enneagram?
But I think that's like, no. But I think just in general,
it could be.
I feel like we all want significance. We all want to reach a certain height in life. We all want to reach certain achievements. Why do we want that important so much?
Oh man. I think it's innate. I think that...
You think God created us like that?
Yeah, absolutely. If he's put a task and he's put you here to solve a problem, essentially, then you're after that. Like, as soon as you get here, you're chasing that. And the fact that you can feel unfulfilled and then you have like a taste of fulfillment, you're always going to want that, because those... Like, that unfulfilled feeling is like, what are we doing here? And I remember saying
we're supposed to be in our
exactly.
purpose.
I remember thinking, like, God, this can't be it.
So what did you do, practically speaking, to sacrifice
your
dream?
And it was by faith. It was a faith thing. Ultimately, the problem was not so much that I was going to fail law school. Well, it sounds like a big problem. The problem was that I cared so much. And so I was being tormented by the fear of failing. And so what I had to do was begin to release, and it wasn't easy, release that care over. And so instead, I understood the torment, the voice, the thoughts that I was meditating on was, you're going to fail, you're not good enough. you're not gonna make it. So then I had to begin to say to that, that's okay, even if that's okay.
Yes.
I don't, you know. And it was more so, and then I had to get to a space of, okay, God, you can take it back. You can have it back.
Hold up. I think that's so important because I feel like we can oftentimes find our identity in the promise, in your purpose. Like, what are you if you're not a lawyer?
Yeah.
What are you if you are not a fashion designer?
Yeah.
But above all of that, we are still daughters of God. He still has a plan for our life. And so even if we get derailed, he's always going to push us back on the right track. He's always going to give us something for our life to give him glory with. And so I think that's so important because it's so easy to get wrapped up in it, especially like, okay, and I'm so guilty of this and I want to stop so badly, but especially when people are like, oh, she's going to be a lawyer, you know what I mean? Or she's a fashion designer or whatever.
Yeah, they
it's
attach
like,
us to then the introductions and all of that.
Yeah, and I'm trying so hard not to be... I found myself the other day introducing a friend and raving about how awesome she was. And I was like, and she's getting her master's degree and she's doing all of that. And so I want to be very intentional about not...
separating her from...
Yes, from separating her from her accomplishments. Because even if she wasn't getting her master's degree, she would still be an amazing woman because she's God's masterpiece. She's a daughter of God. She was created with a purpose and predestined, and she's a special person. And so I think we need to be careful about that, about attaching labels onto people and making that their value and worth.
Absolutely.
So even if I stop Grace Made tomorrow, which is not happening,
we can still brag about you.
Yeah,
I struggled with this in 2018. In 2018, when I didn't pass the bar for maybe the second time now, I couldn't remember at that time, but in 2018 it was really tough. And I remember the shame of telling people I didn't pass again. And I had a talk with a friend of mine who said, I see the problem. You're attaching what you've done and what you've accomplished with yourself. And so when you don't do that, then you think you're bad. And so he really helped me to see what it was that... who I was outside of all of that.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think that's important for all of us to know. Like for you, for example, whether you have Grace Made or not, like you're a leader. Like you have this compassion for people and women, and you want to see people whole and healed. You love well, and that should be the things that we're most excited about in ourselves, you know.
Absolutely.
Like you have this charm and this wit about you.
Aww.
You know, and you have this temperament that makes people happy and comfortable around you.
Yeah.
Grace Made aside, degrees aside, like that is the thing, and that's actually what God is using. It's not Grace Made. Like that's just something that you've been able to create out of the gifts that He's given you.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And same for you.
I think that's purpose.
Yeah.
I think
and we need to put more emphasis on that. We need to stop making people feel bad about not having this big thing. That you don't have something in your Instagram bio, that's okay. That you don't have some
I don't
elaborate
write anything
title
in there anyway.
Yeah. Like it's not about us anyways. You know what I mean? And so it's a hard thing to grasp though. It's a hard concept, I think, sometimes to get because our culture is so focused on position
and production.
Yeah,
produce. What is it? Show me what you got.
What are you doing? Yeah. So, just know that you are perfect just the way you are, and if you don't have this elaborate thing that you're doing, God can still use you with what you have.
I think it's also very important to give yourself grace in the process. It's not linear. I think some of us, we trick ourselves into thinking point A, B, C, when really the process is like this squiggly line. Sometimes we go back a little bit, forward, and to be graceful in that journey, because it's not a straight line.
Are you done with your process?
No.
Me either.
We'll never be done with our process.
I know. If it's not one thing, it's something else.
Exactly. And then we get to celebrate because, I can say God did fulfill this promise. He did.
Yeah. But we have to identify those two, because what I love that you said, when we first started talking, you said, God already fulfilled a promise, which was graduating from law school. And sometimes I am so guilty of looking at the big picture and saying God
He didn't
fulfill anything because I haven't got to the end goal, right? So I love that you acknowledge that the steps that got there. Because I don't. I'm just like,
you're not done here yet,
you didn't do anything yet. I haven't reached my promised land yet. Because there's still things that I'm awaiting, but they're always going to be something because God is always doing something in our lives, which is so exciting, really. And so I need to start identifying, you know, what he has done so far and rejoice in that and not just be so pessimistic about, like, he hasn't done this yet. Like, what am I doing? And he's done amazing things. He's opened amazing doors for Grace Made, for me and my life and my faith, and he's grown me so much. And so I need to rejoice in that, and I need to be more focused on those things and be grateful for those things.
I think, well, I mean, if we're thinking of tips on how to survive the process.
Yes, we're going to get into that, by the way. We're going to give you some practical tips of how to survive your process because it's not easy. It can be very difficult, but there's some things that we can do to enjoy the process because I feel like the process can be enjoyable. It can you can still find joy within the process even though you're not seeing the fruit of what you are praying for right away. While we are standing in faith, while we're believing God for these things, there are things that we can do to make it joyful for us because I think there's also things that we can do to make the process elongated. We see, like, if you read your Bible, and if you don't, it's okay too. Not condemning you. In Exodus, we see the story of the children of Israel in the wilderness, right? And they're complaining. We don't like this bread, like all these things, right? And it's just like elongating the process for them longer and longer. And I feel like I've been in that place before where I'm just like, God, what are you doing? Last year, actually, which was like 10 days ago.
Was that 2019? 2019 was okay.
2019 was kind of tough for me. And I feel like it's because I made this process not a joyous one in my own doing, though, because I decided instead of looking at the positive, instead of having a new perspective, I decided to focus on all the things that God wasn't doing. We just celebrated 3 years as Grace Made as a business, and I wasn't where I wanted to be in the business for 3 years. And so then it just was like, you know? Wow. And so I just started to complain. I started to focus on the things that weren't happening. I wanted to quit. I was crying. I had a breakdown like in front of someone. It was just really dramatic. And I just made a decision going into 2020. I am going to change my perspective and I'm not going to stay in this place. Either way, I'm still going to have to go through this process. So I can either choose to be angry about it and discontented about it and discouraged about it, or I can believe God and be hoping and expecting and enjoying the process. So I'm going to give you the 3 tips, things that I did to change my perspective, and then Connie's also going to add in some tips because I know she has some good stuff to share with us. Okay, so the first tip is stop caring what the people around you are thinking about you. Okay, this is major because a lot of the things that you think people are thinking about you, they are not thinking about you because they're thinking about themselves and their own problems.
Very true. Very true.
Honestly, I feel like I could have saved myself so much like discouragement if I just stopped looking at things through the eyes of other people. So for example, I would come out with a collection, and if I didn't get a certain amount of likes on our Instagram page, if the sales weren't as I expected them to be, or just things didn't even have to happen. I was just thinking like, what are people going to think about this, right? When I know in my heart, like, okay, this is the direction I feel God called me to go in. I feel proud of this. I was happy with it. But then I started filtering things through the eyes of other people, and then I start getting discouraged, and then I hate it. And so you need to stop doing that. So another thing I started to do was I would think about what other people would think about where I'm at in the business for being a business of 3 years, right? And so I would be thinking like, oh, they're probably saying, she's not doing anything. She needs to go back to her regular 9-to-5 job, blah, blah, blah. Nobody said that.
They don't care either.
Nobody said that. I said that.
They don't care.
Thinking that other people were saying that. Do you guys ever have that dialogue in your head?
Absolutely.
Of like what other people are saying and they never said that?
I'm in that right now. They may be saying
honestly,
it,
they could be, but who cares? If God tells you to do something and you are confident of that, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. You go for it. You do it.
You gotta
Have
do
your
it.
confidence
You gotta do
in
it.
what God told you
Yeah.
to do. Stop thinking about other people. They're not going to promote you. They're not going to, they're probably not even buying your stuff. Like, just stop, And so, yes, stop caring what other people are thinking. Be confident in what God told you. Be confident in the promise and keep moving forward. So that's a major one for me. And it's so much freedom when you can just let those thoughts go. And when you are just in the space of like, I like what I do. I love what I'm doing. I'm confident in this. It's like, wow, you can actually enjoy the process, right?
Whew. Yeah.
Mic drop.
I don't know if I'm there yet, but yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping to get there.
Okay. See, we're just being honest. We're still figuring it out. We're trying to work this out. Number 2. My number 2 tip is this process is for your good and for your sustainable success.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if you get to where God's called you to get, right? If you, let's say Grace Made was where I thought it would be when I started the business. If we were in that place and God elevated me to that place too soon, my character wouldn't have sustained me. I wouldn't be there because I would still be crying over everything. Like I mentioned
what?
before.
God gave me this image recently, and he was talking about processed foods and how everybody, says stay away from processed foods. They're bad for you.
I'm gonna love this because I like to eat healthy.
But what something good about processed foods, you understand that their shelf life is a lot longer. And so it's just the idea that when you're processed, you're gonna last longer.
So when we go through the process, that's
The
good.
shelf life of the processed food.
You're gonna last longer, and I'm gonna last longer because we're letting God work these things out of us. So during the process, one thing that God's been doing is just chipping away at my character. He's brought so many things about my character to the surface where it's like, ooh, I didn't know that was in me. I didn't know that I needed my character worked out. There's just different thought patterns that needed to be changed, different heart attitudes, the way I treat people, those things need to be worked out because if he's going to take you to a higher level, you're going to face more difficulties, more challenges, and if your character can't sustain you, you're going to lose the process as fast as you got it.
Yeah, and I'm also very grateful that a lot of the my character flaws have not been on display. I'm glad that they have come up.
If you guys saw how we really were
in the process, because if they were, say you had the following that you had, and then you made it slip up that's it. That can end
no
a
one's
career.
gonna trust you anymore. We see it all the time in the media too.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I want to share with you guys this passage in the Bible that I read. Sorry, don't quote. Okay, I'm gonna write it in the little caption somewhere here.
I've always wanted to do that on a YouTube. Down below. Comment down below.
Write it.
Click and
Okay. So I was in my Bible study the other day, and I've been reading about Joseph in Genesis. I love Joseph. And so, anyways, it said in this verse, oh no, sorry, this might be Psalm. Yes, it was Psalm retelling.
Okay.
Joseph's story. Okay, so yes, I was reading my Bible study the other day, and it was in Psalm, but it was so encouraging when it comes to this, what we're talking about, the process. So it says, until the time came to fulfill his dreams, the Lord tested Joseph's character. And I love that because I feel like that's what God does with us. And I think also
so good.
in my journey, especially again last year, I was saying how it was a rough year. Even my faith was tested where it was are you going to endure? Are you going to stay the course? And I feel like that's what God does too, because it's I'm not going to give this to you if you're not going to glorify me with it. I'm not going to give this to you if your faith's not going to be sustained, if your character is not going to be sustained, as we talked about. And so I think this process of him even showing you stuff where it looks like your circumstances look different than what it should, or it looks like you're far off, or your situation looks completely opposite than what he promised you. It's because he's testing your character, because he wants to see, do you really believe me for what I said?
Yeah.
It's going to look different than how I told you. But are you going to stay the course?
This is how faith is
So that's why I
growing.
love how he says his character was tested until he was able to fulfill the dream. God tested Joseph's character, and God tested Jasmine's character, and God tested Constance's character, and God is testing your character. So endure, stay the course. Yes. And my final and last tip is stay encouraged. And that's so simple, but you really have to make the effort to stay encouraged, because it's so easy to get discouraged when things, like when your circumstances look opposite of what, you know, what the dream is, what the purpose is. You have to stay encouraged. And some ways that I stayed encouraged is just reading my Bible, reading the Word, which sounds simple, but God can reveal so many different things through His Word. So it was so important for me to read my Bible, staying in prayer. Another thing that was really big for me is just staying around people who encourage me, just like my friend Constance here, who encourages me, and not only encourages me, but believes in the call that God has for my life. A lot of times when you talk about what God is doing in your life or the call He has on your life, people look at you like you're freaking crazy, because it's like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense, because a lot of times it doesn't make sense. So you have to get around people who believe in the call that God has on your life, believe God for the impossible, that He can do exceedingly abundantly above, and just believe in you as a person. And so that's how I kind of stay encouraged. And also just watching your thoughts. That's really big, because your thoughts can take you down a spiral of disaster and just have you thinking all kind of craziness. So make sure you're watching your thoughts, that you're feeding through your mind what God says about you. And important. You know, watch your thoughts, guys. Speak God's positive word in your mind. Speak affirmations to yourself.
Crucial.
Yes, it's so important, because your mind can shape your actions. Your mind can shape what you think about yourself and how you view your situation. And if you just choose to shift your thoughts into, I'm going to look at this as something good,
that's how it changes.
That's how it changes. And I'm believing in 2020, a lot of things are going to shift for us, because we're going to decide to be intentional about thinking well about our situation. Give us a bonus tip, Connie.
My bonus tip. Oh, I'm so excited for this bonus tip.
Me too.
The tip is to take your hands off the wheel during the process.
Woo!
2018 was a very tough year for me, and 2019 is when I started to hear God again. And what I learned in 2019, God said to me, there became a point in this journey where you started asking me to follow you instead of you following me.
Dang.
And so
you just dropped the gem.
Isn't it crazy?
I need my notebook.
What He had said. So for a lot of us, we get a clear image of the result, the end result.
Yeah.
We know what we want, what we're chasing, and then we start to come up with a strategy and plan and route to attain that. And God's like, that's fine and all, but that's not the direction we're going. That's not how I saw that.
Your plans are cute. That was real cute what you came up with.
Yeah. So when I graduated law school in 2017, I thought we were headed on this linear path to become an attorney. And He's like, we're going to go here. We're going to stop here first.
You're actually going to be a minister.
You got to become a minister. And so you got to join, be over this program. And so we've done a lot. We've done a lot that I did not put in the plan. And I wouldn't take any of that back.
Yeah.
But that's because I finally said, okay, God, I guess you're in control of this process.
So how do we take our hands off of this situation?
How do you take your hands off of the situation? Well, what I did, I know what worked for me. It's with God, it's not like we have a choice. It's really not like we have a choice. I could pout and still be in 2018 like I want to go here. If it's like a child like telling his mom or dad where they want to go, but the truth is like you're gonna get dragged. Yeah. So like you're throwing your fit, but God has just got you, and you're gonna go where He says go. And it's like things just don't work out for you.
Yeah. Simple. And I think that's like when you stop with your plan. Yeah. I think we do need, we talk a lot about writing the vision, make it plain. We do need a vision for our life. Yeah. We do need to put certain goals in place, but don't be surprised if they don't go that way, and be ready to pick up and follow God wherever He leads you, right?
Yeah. The best image He gave me the other day, last year, there was a bag, the plastic bags that we like hate now.
Oh yeah. We're sustainable.
Plastic bag was flying in the wind.
Yeah.
and it was doing this tornado thing, and God was speaking to me.
Okay, God always speaks to you in these ways with the environment.
With the environment. I think because I was, when you're quiet and not doing anything, and you're like, I'm listening, Lord, which is very rare for me, no. So anyway, so the plastic bag. So the plastic bag is floating in the air, and God is saying to me, does the bag get to determine what it does?
Wow. Look, I'm done. It's over. Bye.
And so I understood, like, okay, so you're running this thing.
Yeah.
You're running this thing. Okay.
And for those who are not familiar with how God works too, he's not trying to control us. So it's not like he's just like, do this, make this video, He gives us free will, and we have the decision if we want to be obedient or not. We don't have to let him direct our lives, but let me tell you, his direction is going to be better than anything that you have in mind. We obviously don't know what we're doing. There's been so many times where I've been out of God's will and I just make a mess of things. And so I think just giving him the control, getting your hands off of it, and trusting him. And that's something big for me this year. I keep hearing God tell me, trust, right? Like, trust that I can do this and that I want this for you. Trust that I'm good.
That's my word too for the year. Be still and know that I am God.
Yeah. He wants good things for us. He wants us to fulfill what he's created us for. And
his way.
Yeah, in his way. And he wants to direct us. And his way is the best way. So it's not
strategy.
like this, like, punishment. It's like, when you're little and your parents always know best, but you're like, no. Like, I don't want this. And so we just got to trust him during the process. And if you are going through this process and you are in this space of like, God, what are you doing? This does not look like what I thought you were going to do in my life. I just want to encourage you. We just want to encourage you to just hold on, take those tips to heart, start to implement them, and know that God has a great plan for you if you will just hold on. I love Isaiah 40:31. I hope I'm quoting this right. I hope that's the actual scripture. It may be wrong. If it is, I'm going to put it down here in the space.
In the box.
So that verse is, those who hope in the Lord, they will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. And I love that because I feel like I'm renewing my hope this year. Like I am saying, God, I'm going to make the decision. I'm choosing to renew my hope in you and to start believing you again for those big things. And as I believe in you, you're promising that I'm going to soar up. And what I looked up the word soar, and it means rise, right? And so I'm going to rise up. I'm going to rise up out of the pits of discouragement, out of the pits of defeat.
That's good.
I'm going to rise up, and you're going to renew me. And renew me, I'm going to run, I'm going to endure. When I think about running and not growing weary, I'm going to run and endure. I'm going to walk and not faint. So this is the year of of hope. This is a year of enduring. So just keep going. Don't give up. The promise is going to come to pass if you faint not. So it's up to you. You can decide to give up like I almost did last year and be like, I'm out, or you can choose to trust God and stick with the process. So I'm so thankful for this video. I think that this episode...
This dress really embodies what I'm going for today. Sabbath, cocoon.
Yes.
This is my Sabbath
rest, be
day.
still. Yes. Well, thank you for watching The Grace Space. We pray that you have a blessed time. Tell us in the comments about your process and your promise, purpose, whatever God's given you and how that's looked like for you. We want to engage with you. We want to talk to you about it and encourage you. We can't wait to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching this episode. We will see you next time on The Grace Space.
Grace Space.